Hi, my name is Neb Camus Sen Atumre, and this is the fourth part of this Black History series, Breaking the Spell. In part 3 of this series, the War of Armageddon was mentioned. Today's teachings are taken from edition number 62, The Revelation of Jesus the Messiah to the World, volumes 1 through 4, which was published in 1979 and revised in 1984. This book was authored by Tehuti Dr. Malachi Zio. Armageddon symbolizes the final battle between good and evil, a war of falsehood against truth. This war will cause destruction never before witnessed on this planet. Even though America has participated in all of the major wars, World War I and World War II, neither of these wars were ever fought in its own land. But this war will be different from all others because this time America will make war on her own battlefield. For the first time in major warfare, germ warfare will be utilized and nuclear warfare will be the common factor involved. This war will last for 27 years. The descendants of Esau, the People's Republic of China, the people of South Asia, India, Korea, Cambodia, Vietnam, and the Arab nations will ally with the Soviet Union, Gog, in this last war against Europe, United States, Magog, and the Israelis. This war will take place in the Middle East, which is considered the center of the world. Armageddon is the name of the plains of Megiddo, a valley located about 2 miles north of Jerusalem, Palestine, and is 10 miles wide and 30 miles long. This field is expansive enough to hold a large or huge army. The year 1990 through 1999 is within the time period when World War III and the reign of the Antichrist will begin. The Middle Eastern wars have been the major sparks that will ignite the fuel for the eventual Third World War, a war that will involve all nations of the world. Ever since these Euro Jews, Jebusites, German, Aryan Jews established themselves in the state of Israel with the help of the United States and the League of Nations, after World War I, the land has been filled with war and bloodshed. Revelation 13:11 explains an additional empire to which the fourth beast, America, passed its power. That fourth beast is presently Israel. America and Israel represents the two horns of the lamb of the present day. The world has been made to think that these Jebusites, Euro Jews, are gentle like a lamb because they continue to tell the sub story of the Holocaust of 1945 to make the whole world feel sorry for them. You see, their Holocaust ended. Ours, Nubians, blacks, is never ending. Look at the situation down there in Florida and the rest of America and the rest of the world. But we are not complaining because we know that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, not equal to the amount sown, but equal to the amount grown. Do you follow? Israel was allowed to inflict punishment on the people of Lebanon, Palestine, Syria, and other Arab countries by the United Nations. But the most inhumane action performed by these Euro Jews was supposedly done as the September 11th, 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center, which is said to be perpetrated by Zionists in a master plan to create anti-Arab sentiments and thus anti-Palestinian sentiments in the United States of America. Supposedly, on the morning of the September 11th, 2001 World Trade Center attacks, Zionist Euro Jews employees called in sick. When looking at the list of the victims on the planes and in the buildings, you will not find any Zionist Euro Jew names, like they all knew that it was coming. What horrendous demons. Revelation 2:9 calls them the synagogues of Satan. Revelation 3:9 says in Syriac, Ha'ennadeh aj'alu qawmun. Behold, I will make them min majma'i el-shaytana, of the synagogue of Satan, min alladhina yaquluna, which say that they are innahum yahudu wa laysu yahudi, that they are Jews and they are not, bel yakdibuna, but they do lie. Ha'ennadeh ahmiluhum ala, behold, I will make them an ya'tu wa yasjudu, to come and worship ladei kodomeika, before your feet, wa ya'lamuna, and to know annai kod ahyabuka, that I have loved thee, you Nubians. So this is no coincidence. In a city with a large Zionist Euro Jew population as New York, the likelihood of Zionist Euro Jews not being among the victims is highly improbable, and it was virtually non-existent. The morning of the World Trade Center attacks, Israeli Foreign Minister Shimon Peres cancelled a trip to New York. Some say he knew of the death and destruction that was to take place that day, and he knew he would not be able to get out of New York and back to Israel. And take a look at the supposed hijackers. Anyone who knows the Arabic language would know their names were not authentic Arabic names. Therefore, they say the men pictured as the supposed hijackers could have been dark-skinned Israelis posing as Arabs. These Jebusites, Euro Jews, claim that this is a religious war and that they want to regain the Holy Land of Canaan. This is a lie, the greatest hoax ever perpetrated. Let me stress the point that Jew is not synonymous to Israelite, Yahudi, or Judah, as you have been led to believe. The letter J did not exist in English, Latin, or Greek until 1565. The modern English J was created by Peter Gallatin in the year 1565. So when you see Jew in the Quran, you are being deceived. When you see Jew in the Holy Bible, you are being deceived. Before that, the letter G took the place of the letter J. So the word Jew, which was created in 1514, was spelled G-E-W, Gu, or G-R-E-W, Gru, and was short for Greeks. Noah's third son, Japhet, gave birth to Javan, and this Javan, if looked up and researched, becomes the Ionians, which are the Greeks. History shows that these Euro-Jews are not descendants of Judah, but are the servants of the house of Abraham who converted to Abraham's religion. The Jebusites are direct descendants of Lebanon or Canaan, and the Flugelrod, the Halabians, Genesis 10, 15 through 19. For 309 years, the offspring of Lebanon, Canaan, remained in the Caucasus Mountains. There they ate raw carcasses, mingled sexually with animals called bestiality, worshipped idols, and began walking on all fours until Abraham came to civilize them. Leviticus 18, 22 and 23. Abraham traveled from his birthplace, Ur of Chaldees, Ur meaning fire, and Chaldea meaning land of demons, in present-day Saudi Arabia, to the plain of Haran, in present-day Iran, with his father after his brother's death. By this time, the descendants of Lebanon, Canaan, had already begun to filter down from the Caucasus Mountains and spread into Asia Minor, which is Turkey, and parts of Mesopotamia. This is how they became to be called Caucasians, because they were natives of this entire area, the Caucasus Mountains and Asia Minor. They later traveled into Haran and other nearby regions, settling in the mountainous areas. When Abraham arrived in Haran, which is the land of Canaan, Canaanites were already there. From Haran, Abraham went up to the Caucasus Mountains to fulfill his mission to civilize the Canaanites and bring them out of the caves. Abraham originally brought 5 of the 11 tribes out of the caves: the Jebusites, Amorites, Hittites, Hivites, and Sidonians. In 2153 BCE, which is before the Christian era, Abraham left Haran, Genesis 12:1. These Canaanites followed him in his travels through Syria and down into Egypt, where he met his second wife Hagar. Along the way, the Jebusites settled in Jerusalem, Palestine. They are the so-called Jews of today. The other 4 tribes scattered about throughout the land of Canaan, after which they would sometimes return to the caves to live and bring down other Canaanites from the mountains with them. After leaving Egypt, where he received the formula to create the pig, Abraham returned to Haran and went back up into the Caucasus Mountains to continue his mission. After returning to Haran and dwelling there for some time, he went to Shinar, present-day Kuwait area, where he settled with the Canaanites. This is why it states in Genesis 24:3 that Abraham told his servant to make sure that his son Isaac did not take a wife from amongst the Canaanites with whom he dwelt. So the Jebusites settled in Jerusalem. They were savage pagans who worshipped all kinds of idols before converting to the religion of the prophet Abraham. Still, they had picked and chosen what laws they would follow. These Khazars, Euro Jews, hired teachers, learned in the scriptures from Mesopotamia and Egypt to teach their children the Torah, Old Testament, and Talmud. And because they could not pronounce all the sounds of the Hebrew language, they developed Yiddish, a mixture of Hebrew and German. The Euro Jews of Austria, Poland, Germany, and Israel are descendants of Khazars, who inhabited the Caucasus Mountains, which formed a border between Russia and Turkey. The king of the Khazars is a descendant of Canaan, Canaan's fourth son, the Amorite. This king, King Bulan, converted to Judaism in 740 AD, making it Judaism the state's religion. A few years after that, the Khazars convinced themselves that they were not Gentiles after all, but they were the physical descendants of the prophet Abraham. So they stole the identity of the real Judahites, and in 1945 began calling the pure seed, the Negroids, began calling you ethnic, which means heathen in the Greek. Look it up. Under the Strong's Concordance number 1484, ethnos means Gentile nation, Gentiles, heathen. When the Holy Bible, Matthew 23:13, uses the term ethnic, it is not referring to you, Nubians, Negroes. However, it is referring to the heathen Gentiles who were the cursed lepers of Canaan, the true cursed seed of Lebanon, Canaan. So, the devil always takes out the best part of the earth for himself. Remember, in the Old Testament, what is known as the Palestine today was once called the land of milk and honey, because the land was such a rich and fertile valley. Anu, Alyun El, promised it to his chosen people, you, Nubians, not the Europeans and not the Turkish invaders. But this pale devil is prepared to fight to the bitter end for what he considers to be his. This battle will be the devil's fiercest attempt to establish dominion over all the world. He will assemble a military force made up of all the sons of Canaan to bring them together in the plain of Megiddo, called Armageddon. As the previous empires before them, the new Babylon or Babylonian Empire is destined to fall. The fourth beast of Revelation is the eagle, and it is represented by America. America is the offspring of Europe's spirit, culture, and the European nations also make up a part of this fourth empire. America differs from the other heads of power because it was an outgrowth of the combined cultures of all those empires before it. As a product, it carries the weight of Europe's iniquities, not equal to the amount sown, but equal to the amount grown. Do you understand? After Tehuti, Dr. Malachi Z. York's coming in 1945 as the reformer for this day and time, the earth was lit up with right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding, Nuwaupu, sound, right reasoning. He has come to reclaim the Nuwaupians, the Ishmaelites, you Nubians, as the prophets Moses and Jesus came to reclaim the Israelites, crying in a mighty voice to let them know the new city of Babylon is falling and that they should come out of her. You are living in the time of the end, and that the civilization you live in is falling around you. Can't you see the diseases, plagues, earthquakes, fires, death, and the inclement bad weather and destruction? The pale man calls Babylon, America, her, just as he calls his car her. Americans glorify the woman because they glorify the harlot, represented by the Statue of Liberty. Babylon has poured out her own destruction. She has poisoned the waters she must drink, destroyed the ozone layer, and poisoned the land and the animals. They are destroying their physical bodies, and that is all they have. Once they die, they cease to exist. That is why they hate you, because you are immortal. Your physical